Hi, my name is Louise Larson. I run August Consulting College Planning Solutions, helping families on the road to college. And this is my June webinar. I'm going to start with news and notes and then dig into the wait list. What do you do if you find yourself on a wait list? How do you negotiate that? So I'm going to open up with a quote. This is not my quote. I can't even tell you who said it, but I hear it a lot in college admissions. College admissions is a journey of self-discovery. And I find that with every student I work with, and I have a specific example of a family friend that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. If you are new to this, if you have an 8th, 9th, 10th grader and you're starting to sort this out, May 1st, the New York Times had an article called "This is Peak College Admissions Insanity" on May 1st, and I think it was by somebody named Daniel Cottrell. If you want to get up to speed on everything you're hearing about the FAFSA, the Supreme Court case, everything that's going on and why this year is so exceptionally complex, that is a great primer. And I have that on my Facebook page, Two River College Consulting, and my August Consulting page. I think I also put it on my Instagram, August Consulting too. So very good article to get you up to speed on what's been going on. So Maryland has gotten rid of legacy admissions in public and private colleges, which is actually impressive. It's on the docket at a lot of state legislatures, especially for public schools, but Maryland actually got rid of legacy preferences. The governor of West Virginia has declared a state of emergency for higher education due to the FAFSA. Now, I thought this was very interesting because West Virginia, if you've been watching, had a couple months ago had some very huge program cuts. So I thought that was interesting. I want to talk a little bit about closures. This is what, if you read the article, the New York Times article, and you've been following this. So smaller colleges that were in trouble before COVID got a lot of COVID money that kept them afloat. And a couple of things are going on right now. The COVID money is gone. And the FAFSA has created such a debacle because there's a whole tier or tranche or range or segment, cross-section of students that come to college because they were able to get a Pell Grant and a student loan, and that's how they're coming to college. And those kids, a lot of them aren't coming because they can't get their parents' tax stuff to sync on the FAFSA, any number of reasons. So we are seeing more closures. And last month we saw Wells College close in Virginia. Not Virginia, Wells College in New York. But just now, I'm filming this on June 3rd. May 31st, the University of the Arts in Philadelphia announced they are closing, not even running their summer programs. Now, University of the Arts, if you're not in this world, you might be like, well, what school is that? It's a very well-known school for singers and dancers and students that want to pursue artistic studies, and they are just closing. On May 28th, Marymount Manhattan announced that they are merging with Northeastern University. Now, Northeastern is like the Pac-Man of colleges. They have a London campus, they've bought Mills College, they have an Oakland campus, they have a Miami campus, now they're going to have a New York footprint. So Northeastern just keeps going. But Marymount Manhattan is closing and we're being taken over by Northeastern. If you find a small school that seems like a hidden gem, ask questions about their finances. If their finances are in good shape, there'll be a lot of transparency. Small, I would say anything under 1,000, maybe anything under 1,200. Another metric to track would be enrollment. Is it at 1,200? It used to be 2,000 5 years ago. So if you find a smaller school, I think we're going to see more of this. May 9th, the president of Cornell University, abruptly resigned. And that is on the heels in the past few months of the Harvard president resigning, the Penn president resigning, and the Yale president resigning. And I heard that and I said, boy, it's not easy to be a president of an Ivy League school these days. And this is what I kind of came to, though. I said, It's not easy to be a president of any college these days because the littler colleges are fighting for their lives. It's just not easy. And that brought me to a second and third thought. It is not easy to be any of these people that you are meeting on college campuses. You might be stressed as a parent trying to figure this out. I can assure you, admissions offices are under enormous pressure to bring in classes. Financial aid people, half of them want to leave their jobs. Financial aid, I can't imagine a worse job right now than working in a financial aid office with all the chaos and confusion with the FAFSA. And I dread to even say this out loud, but somebody in one of the things that I'm on and monitoring said, oh, and next year, next year, they don't think they're going to have this worked out by next year. So anyway, I share that as you are negotiating this process with your child and you are on college campuses, just be aware that from the president on down, these people in the leadership positions in financial aid and admissions and administration are under enormous pressure. So just to be aware of that. Interestingly enough, University of Connecticut has added binding early decision to their admissions choices. Now, this is interesting. Prior to this, the only colleges, a couple of years ago, the only colleges that offered binding early decision that were public were University of Virginia and Virginia Polytechnic University, better known as Virginia Tech. So they were the only two publics that offered binding early decision. Virginia Tech decided to eliminate it, just as the University of Vermont decided to add it. So right now, the only colleges that offer binding early decision at a state flagship are University of Virginia and University of Vermont. But this year, coming year, UConn has announced that they are going to offer binding early decision. Now, there were a couple different thoughts about this. I think that there is a plus side to these flagships adding binding early decision for their in-state applicants. Because if you have an admissions profile that's sort of on the cusp for your state flagship, but you would really like to go and you would really like to secure that in-state tuition, then that's a great way, if your school offers binding early decision, to show them, I'm here, I'm serious, I'll come. And maybe they will take you, whereas in the regular round, maybe your admissions profile wouldn't meet the threshold. There's a flip side of that maybe this just allows a lot of in-state kids to take spots because they can apply binding early decision. If they're well-resourced, they can afford to pay the out-of-state tuition. They don't have to wait and see if they got a merit scholarship. So there's a flip side saying, well, if it's going to bring in a lot of out-of-state kids and in-state kids can't get spots, that's a problem. So I don't know which way it goes. Both sides have pros and cons. I do like it for kids that really want to go to their state flagship. They can say, hey, I want to come. Interestingly, UConn has a $70 million deficit. So I think maybe they're trying to leverage their sports success with basketball, and they're more of a household name with that. I don't know, but they are running a $70 million deficit. So this was the most frustrating thing for me. If you have watched me, you know I'm no fan of the College Board, but the College Board has eliminated the one good thing that they ever did. They had a calculator on their Big Future website that would allow you to calculate your expected family contribution or your new student aid index in the new FAFSA world for the FAFSA and CSS profile. So I could just send parents to this link and say, hey, this will tell you, you just put in last year's tax return and it'll spit out a couple numbers and you'll have really important information. And I was on the phone with a parent. They just called me and we're talking, and they actually are involved in higher ed. And I'm like, oh, no, you just go to this website. And I'm in my car and they're in front of their computer and they're like, I don't see it. I don't see it. And I'm like, no, hold on. And I stopped and I got out my iPad and I was like, the College Board took it down. The one good thing they'd ever done. So if you're trying to figure out how a school's going to evaluate your ability to pay, you can go to the College Board and they do have the FAFSA calculator, but they don't have the calculator for the CSS profile. I would go to a selective college. This family was in the north, so I said, why don't you look at the Dartmouth net price calculator, but go to a net price calculator of a reputable selective college and maybe put your numbers in there if you want to figure out what it looks like for you on the CSS profile. Again, it wouldn't be my webinar. I feel like every webinar I mention Jeff Salingo, because Jeff Salingo is always out doing stuff in college admissions, and he really is a voice of great knowledge and reason and all that kind of stuff. So what is my Jeff Salingo talking about this month? I thought this was so interesting. He was on a webinar with Ned Johnson, who's like a test prep psychology guy, and he said, you know, when you are here, and if you're watching me, you are probably a parent, and that is your child going to college is extremely, extremely personal. And they were talking about the admissions office side, and the admissions office side is, I need to make my class on the budget that I have. And what does that mean? They need to bring a certain amount of students in that fills a certain amount of bed and seats in the classroom. And those students need to bring a certain amount of money with them. So maybe the class needs to bring in $20 million. So every kid, if they're whatever amount of kids they're bringing, and they need X amount of kids, and those kids need to bring $20 million with them. So every admissions officer needs to bring in their class on budget. So it is a little bit, when you look at what colleges have done in the past, it's a little bit like looking at the past to predict the future, which isn't necessarily accurate or valid if you're the parent, because they're just trying to bring in their class on budget. The other thing that Jeff Salingo said, he said, we really need to rethink college admissions. And I was like, yes, we do. But I was like, but who's going to do that? I mean, is the senior class of 2025 going to go on strike and say we won't apply until you redo this? Are the parents going to say we won't pay till you fix this? Are the high schools going to say we're not hosting SATs anymore till you fix this? I don't know. I do think, I mean, post-COVID, it is perhaps the most chaotic year ever in college admissions that I've seen in the 10 to 12 years I've been doing this. And families have typically 1 to 4 kids, and maybe there's a few families with 5 and 6. They don't have a whole lot of agency or power here. And they're a little bit at the behest of the schools. It's like a casino that maybe you wouldn't go in, but this is your child's education. So you're going to have to figure it out. The other thing that is interesting when you talk about, colleges, colleges are, okay, it's a 4-year, it could be a 2-year, 4-year post-secondary education, but they're all very different. We've got giant state flagships, we've got small liberal arts, we've got niche schools like Kettering University in Detroit, outside of Detroit, that focuses on automotive engineering. You've got a school like Babson, you've got a school like Webb. Not, college is great, but a lot of these schools are very different places, very different missions, a very different set of resources. So I don't know how we as globally rethink it. I wish we could. And if I were ever to sign off and say, this is my last webinar because it's all been simplified and no one needs me anymore, that would be a happy day. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Ted Fisk, if you look way in the back corner, there is my green Fisk guide. Ted Fisk is the New York Times journalist that used to write for the education section and then broke off to write the Fisk guide, and he still does. And he had the best quote. He said, you cannot rank schools. I was on a webinar with him. He said, you cannot rank schools. You can compare and rate. He said, I rate schools. I don't rank them. The question is not what is the best school. The question is, what is the best school for you? And I love that, because there is no best school. You've got to find what is going to be the best place for you to thrive. What else? Was there anything else I want? Oh, Stephen Bird is a journalist for the Chronicle of Higher Education. He has a new book coming out in a couple days called Pulling Back the Veil on Enrollment Management, starting from the 80s when the guy Jack McSomebody from Boston College decided to leverage their institutional funds to give out merit scholarships. And fast forward, 40 years, here we are. So I wanted to talk about one last thing, well, a couple last things before I go into this month's focus on the waitlist. So this, if you are a parent here and you are trying to, well, gosh, where is this all going to sort itself out? Where's my kid going to go? I wanted to just share a little bit of a story of a family friend of ours. And this is not somebody that I worked with, but I saw this person in March and they had all these acceptances and a whole bunch of wait lists. And they said to me, "Where do I go?" I said, "I don't know where you should go. You got to go see the schools." And they had seen some of them, but they needed to go see others. And I said, "Go see the schools. I mean, you're going to have the person that's going to have to go to the school. I can't tell you where you'll have the best outcome." And so that was my advice in March. And then in April, they reached out and they had gone and seen a bunch of schools, and they were like, "You're absolutely right. When I saw the schools, you were right. I knew if I could go there and be happy or not." So they had settled on two that they were going to decide between where they were accepted, but they had a wait list that they loved, and they said, "This wait list, what do I do?" And I walked them through how to pursue the wait list, letter of continued interest, reaching out to their rep, what to do, what not to do. And so when I left them in April, they had two schools that they were deciding between, and then the wait list. So I've been carefully monitoring wait lists, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But I saw this person in May, and I said, "By the way, waitlist movement is rampant, and so watch your email and your phone, because it's like a domino effect, and you might hear from your waitlist school." And they looked at me and they were like, "Oh, I don't really want to go to that school anymore." They said, I settled on between my two colleges. I picked one, I made a deposit, I went to Accepted Students Day. I loved it. I met with my advisor, I've gone to orientation. And for a lot of reasons, I actually think this school is a much, much better choice for me. So even if the waitlist school calls, I'm not going there. And I loved this story because I hear it every year. And spring of senior year, the student is even more developed, more evolved, and they have some choices. And what they thought they wanted previously, they look at this and say, "Nope, that's not for me." So I love that story. And this person is no longer waiting on the wait list. So last thing I am going to talk about before we go into the wait list is this. When do you know it's worked? When do you know that this college thing worked for you? And here is my answer. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen, and this is going to be a miracle. All right, here we are. This is me a couple days ago at my second child's graduation, and this is when you know it worked. This is when you know. When they have graduated, that is when you know it worked. And my second son finished Rempo College of New Jersey on May 29th was the graduation at the Prudential Center at Newark at 8:30 a.m. And I share that because, again, this was a kid who had a bit of an unusual path, came in through COVID, ended up transferring, neurodiverse. And, there were some moments where we're like, wow, which way is this going? It's challenging. I'm not sure what he should do next. And there he is. He graduated. So that's when you know it worked, when you're at graduation. And I want to just share that, Ramapo College is a public school. It's a New Jersey public liberal arts college, and it's up in Mahwah. And this is what is referred to as an access school. An access school is where you might be able, if you're under-resourced or first generation, it's the type of place that isn't super selective. And if you can get a Pell Grant and a student loan, maybe you can go to college. And the We went to a function at Ramapo itself, and then we went to the Prudential Center. There were so many students wearing stoles that said first generation. There were so many students wearing like these medallions that said EOF, and EOF, New Jersey does an amazing job helping under-resourced students get to college. The EOF is the Educational Opportunity Fund. And if you can get into college and you have a certain level of academic performance in high school, New Jersey gives a tremendous amount of support. So when you go to a graduation function at a school like this, it is like, I mean, there were families in matching t-shirts with their graduates screaming, and it was absolutely moving. And I mean, I was thrilled that my child graduated, but if he didn't get through there, I would have figured out somewhere else to get him through. I know what it takes when you have an 11th grader to get from, say, 11th grade to, hey, maybe I should take the SAT. How do I take the SAT? From 11th grade to that graduation, those 4, 5, 6 years, there's a lot of bumps and fences and barriers and challenges, and it can be really easy to get derailed and not be able to push on. When you are trying to put the Common App together on your phone, or you don't know how to get a teacher recommendation, or your school didn't send your transcript, or you're at the college and they don't have a class that you need for your major, or you don't have enough money to buy books or whatever. There's a lot of challenges. So it was really, really wonderful to see. And so I share that. And now we are going to go into the wait list. And part of the reason I waited till June 3rd to put this together was this is a very unusual year. Usually colleges, the deadline to deposit is May 1st. So May 1st, colleges know who's coming, who isn't coming, do we have more spots, and are we going to the wait list? So if you are brand new to this, the wait list is a decision a college might render when they either will deny student admission, admit a student for attendance, or put them on the wait list, which is kind of a back burner, just like what it sounds like. If we have spots, we might call you, maybe. So this year's wait list was very interesting because I'm going to tell you, I kept track of this. So interestingly enough, this year's wait list, there were pre-May 1st wait lists moving. And I was like, whoa, this is interesting. Before May 1st, we saw waitlist movements at the University of Chicago, one of the most selective schools in the country, University of Tennessee, Knoxville, Wake Forest, University of Virginia, Rice, and University of Miami. So when we saw waitlist pre-May 1, I was like, oh, this could be very interesting. Now this year, because of the FAFSA delay, a lot of schools moved their deposit date from May 1st to May 15th or June 1st. And one school, I forget what, was it B? So I don't know. I don't want to throw Boston College under the bus because I don't know if it was them, but somebody had like a May 7th deadline. I was like, okay. So May 1st, pre-May 1st, we had a lot of movement. Post between May 1st and say the 15th, we had movement at Boston University, Vanderbilt, Tulane, Duke, Case Western, Villanova, Bryn Mawr, Washington University of St. Louis, University of Richmond. After May 15th, around then, we saw movement at Brown, Cornell, University of Miami, Emory, NYU, UCLA, Tufts. Later in May, we saw Notre Dame in Michigan. I think I said Vanderbilt already. So that was a lot of waitlist movement. And that's why I said to our family friend, hey, there's a lot of waitlist movement. And I would think by June 1st, we might see more. And then on June 1st, I said, I've got to do my webinar. And I said, you know what? June 1st was a Saturday. I'm going to wait till Monday because I just want to see if there's any more residual domino effect from the wait list. I didn't see I mean, I didn't hear anybody talking about more waitlist movement today. So that was a lot of waitlist movement for pre-deposits. So I just want to put that out there. Okay, so if you are on a wait list, what does this mean? Hold on, I gotta get out my next thing, which has all this. So the wait list is an enrollment management tool. And it is usually a lot closer to a no than a yes. So that's the first thing you need to know. If you are going to stay on a wait list, that is fine, but you have to deposit at a school that has accepted you. You can't just accept wait list spots, because if they don't come through, you can't go back to your other schools in June, July, or August and say, actually, I did want that spot. They filled their spot. So critical that you assess the schools where you actually are admitted and make a deposit at one. Typically by May 1st, this year's had a few more fluid deadlines. So that is really important. Get excited about that school, sign up for your admitted students day, your orientation, meet your advisor, find your classes, roommate selection, the whole 9 yards. Do it. So the wait list is not like getting in line at the movies. This is not like I'll sign up, I'll accept the spot sooner, and then I'll be higher up. They don't rank the wait list. The wait list is an enrollment management tool to bring in the class that they need to bring in. So what does that mean? Well, they're going to look at their class and they're going to say, we're short 32 kids. We need to bring in 32 kids. But what else do we need? Do we need boys? Do we need girls? Do we need kids from the West Coast? Do we need musicians? Do we need engineers? Are we trying to raise our SAT scores? Do we want kids with from certain zip codes? Are we looking to bring in our biology programs lagging? We need bio majors. So the school is going to look at like holes in their class, kind of like a mosaic, and look for the wait list to help fill those spots in, not just actual people, but people that have certain attributes that fill their institutional priorities. So certainly there are, and it's not fair, there are always going to be people who perhaps maybe they're connected to somebody in the board of trustees, or one of their parents is a senator, people who have pull, they're going to use that pull. So the wait list is not ranked, and it is going to be used to help fill in the class. There is no downside to staying on a wait list. If you had 5 wait list spots, you could accept them all and just see if anything comes through, as long as you make a deposit at a different school. What else? When a school offers you a wait list spot, there is often very, very specific directions of how you actually get yourself onto the wait list. It could be an email, it could be something in the portal, it could be any number of things. It could be write us another essay. I've seen that. So it could be tell us why you want to come. It is critical that you read each school's website or communication around the wait list to do exactly what they say you should do. If they want to get your end of year transcript, if they want an update on any achievement, you have to do exactly what each school says. Nothing more, nothing less. Do not show up at their campus with cookies. Do not call them unless they say, call us. Do exactly what they say. Nothing more, nothing less. You should carefully, the teenager, the student, should be carefully monitoring emails and phone calls. Most adolescents are not picking up phone calls from numbers that they don't recognize, but it is very possible that the school could call you. Your admissions rep might call you. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. And when they call you, they might say a couple different things. They might say, we are getting our wait list organized. Are you still interested? That's possible. I've seen that happen. They might call you and say, if you were called with an offer, would you come? Seen that happen. They might call you up and say, we are offering you a spot. You've got 48 hours or 72 hours to decide. That has happened too. It could be through an email. It could be through a text. So you just need to be on it, because if they don't get, if you don't pick up, they might just go to the next kid. So super important to manage that. You need to know, and much like if you're a senator's son or somebody on the board of trustees is advocating for you, most schools, not everybody, not 100%, but most schools, when they go to the wait list, they have usually exhausted their financial aid resources, and they are probably going to be looking for full pay kids. That's just not fair, but that's how it goes. The timetable for waitlist movement can vary. I mean, we had kids coming off waitlists at very selective schools before May 1st this year. You could be packing your car in August to go to your school and get a call from a school and say, hey, we have a spot, do you want to come? That could be reality. A lot of schools some schools might say, we will announce our waitlist movement by July 1st. Some schools might just send you an email, we're not going to the wait list, or we have closed the wait list. Thank you so much. Good luck at your school. If you are wondering how a school is managing their wait list, are they going to the wait list? I would not suggest you, the student or parent, call. But one way to gather some information would be to potentially ask your school counselor to say, would you call such and such college and just say, hey, do you envision going to the wait list or not? Certainly a school counselor can call up and say, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, I'm calling from the school. We have a couple kids on the wait list. Any thoughts on, and if you would be going to the wait list or not? They would probably say, oh, you know what? We are not going to the wait list this year, or we're going next week, or we've made some wait list offers and we're going to see where we are in a few days. But your school counselor could call and kind of get a read for you. So it could be at any point. The reality is that the wait list is often offered to a number of students that can often be larger than the size of the freshman class. So if the freshman class is 1,300, you might see a wait list of 1,500 kids. And you think, did they think the whole freshman class was not going to come? I don't know. But the wait list is often very, very large, larger than it probably needs to be. That's the school's business. I'm not here to criticize that. I'm here to just share. That's the reality, is that the wait list is often pretty large. The other thing I've seen is minuscule numbers of students sometimes coming off the wait list. You could have a wait list, they offered it to 2,000 kids, 900 accepted a spot on the wait list, and 3 were admitted. I mean, these can be fractional admit rates off the wait list. That's one of the waitlist realities. The other piece of waitlists that I've seen, almost like a randomness to how it can vary from year to year. I've gone back and done like a data dive for families to look at the past 5 years, and you might see last year they took 20, the year before they took 200, the year before they took 0, the year before they took 500, and the year before they took 10. So almost like a randomness to it that you just can't predict how they are going to, what it might look like. So they tend to be very low ratios that come off the wait list, and very unpredictable year in, year out. So the thing is, it is closer to a no than a yes. You have to dig in to your accepted schools and really get excited, much like our family friend did, where suddenly he's like, I don't really care about that waitlist school. So I think that is everything. Next month, July, I guess that's July. July, I'm going to talk about writing. What to write, how to write, what not to do, how to approach the writing, because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So if you have a student on the wait list, you have waitlist questions, just reach out. Happy to take an email or a call. And thank you for watching.